Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sabian Education Network Roundtable. We are live. It's a good thing we didn't go live 1 second earlier because my esteemed colleague, Don Famularo, was saying some things that people should not be hearing.
Why did we have to hear it? Why?
I don't know. None of us guys on this panel can unhear what was just said.
Exactly.
But luckily, thankfully, the rest of the audience didn't hear that. So anyway, welcome back, everybody. Joe Bergamini here, Sabian Education Network, and we're really happy to be back here once again. My guest, Bobby, right below me on the Brady Bunch squares, was just saying that this has really become a wonderful hang. Welcome, everybody that's coming in the room. We see you there. It's great. This has become our membership meeting every Friday, and we all really look forward to it. So, and both of our guests today have been very active within SEN. They've always been part of all of our hangs that we've had. They've always been watching the roundtables, commenting. We've been engaged in the forum, and both of these gentlemen are not only great drum teachers, which you're going to hear about today, but they've also been in touch with me through SEN, and we've become friends. And of course, that's why they're here today, to share their expertise. So in addition to on your lower right there, Mr. Don Famularo, along with me, we have below me from New York State, Bobby Angilletta. Welcome, Bobby.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Glad to be here.
Thank you for being here. And coming to us live from London, Mr. Felipe Drago.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you all. Nice to meet you, Bobby, finally. And am I really here? Let me pinch myself. I don't know.
I think you're really here, although we can't really tell because this is a virtual session.
That's the question.
So I'd like to begin with, I really have enjoyed hearing these last few weeks how our members and how drum teachers are moving now. We've been in this different world now for a couple of months now. So I think people are starting to adjust to some changes. They're starting to make discoveries. They're starting to look at the future and make adjustments. So can you give everybody a little bit of a brief overview of what your teaching practice has been like? I know you're doing a lot of online stuff. You're all sharing so much, but give us say a 4 to 6 week synopsis of what's been going on, teaching and otherwise.
And don't forget, these students now are out of school at home learning. So they are now using this formula every day, 5 days a week, doing their lessons at school, whether it's math, science, or whatever it is. That's what they're doing. So they're kind of getting now programmed that this is now a way of life. We in the music industry have to understand that. For me, it's always been a way of life, but now we have to start to accept this as this new normal.
Tony McNally's saying he's seeing the same thing, so that's great. And we have
don't forget, Tony's a wonderful teacher up
Ecuador,
in the Newcastle area, in the Newcastle area, which is north of where Felipe is in London. And Tony also has the Tone Alley, that device, that wooden device that allows you to put the stick through the device.
That's right.
Dramatic grip, American grip, and then French grip, and he's always at the NAMP show. And
you wanted to get mine so I can show it?
Yes, if you have it right there, just show it there, and let people see that there are fun ways that you can engage a student in teaching, where they can pick up this device, and by having this device, it can allow them to have a little bit more interactive way of knowing exactly where. Felipe, just put a pair of sticks in there and just show them that you can see kind of where each of the positions are. That now, right now, he's in American position.
Yeah, this is French position. From here, French position. This other one, American position, and outer here, German position.
Wow.
You really have a certain way of being able to have that level. But
and you can also practice dynamics with this rubber.
Yeah, that's great.
Because then your stick won't go higher than that.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to assemble when you get it. He ships them all around the world to
and can be a mini theater as well. Hey, welcome to my show.
It's one of those things I wish I invented.
Oh my God! This session goes south sooner and sooner in the hour every week. Oh my God! Actually, I don't want Tony to think I forgot. Tony and I had a wonderful hang at the UK Drum Show in Manchester. So I look forward to that event happening again someday to go back to it. So, but yeah, there's a lot of agreement that it is a little more tiring. Welcome to our guests from Ecuador and Uruguay today. That's great. Thanks for being here, guys. Hey, let's get a brief overview from you of the last few weeks. Your studio is remote from your home, which you're in now. So tell us a little about what's happening there.
Well, my life hasn't changed much because before this madness started, I used to walk to my studio every day because it's a 30-minute walk. And so I kept doing that. The biggest difference is now most of my lessons, well, not most, all my lessons are online. But for me, it wasn't too difficult because I started having lessons with Dom 8 years ago. The first time I had a lesson with Dom was 2012, and I didn't believe that doing lessons via Skype would work. Actually, Nina Pará from Brazil, who's my dear friend, she convinced me to say, give him a call, book a lesson, you're going to see it works. So Dom, it's Nina's fault. Everything that happened after, it's Nina's fault.
And Nina is a wonderful player in herself. She's from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I just spoke to her this morning on Skype. And she's a wonderful player. She's working on actually a book with myself and Stefan Chamberlain called The Weaker Side 2. We're working on some new books, and she wanted to take lessons. So I had met her in Brazil years ago. Skype worked out, and now with the different platforms, whether it's Skype or FaceTime or Zoom, it doesn't really matter which one you want to use, but get involved. I did it, and then with Nina then convinced, and Felipe, who's originally from Brazil, who's living now in London, we worked it out, and it worked out well, right, Felipe? It was great.
Yeah, it was great. So it was just a matter of being on the other side, the teaching. But I think I did two years, once a month, a lesson with Dom via Skype. So not only I was learning the techniques, I was also learning how to teach via Skype at the same time. Yeah. So it was just a matter of, once this madness started, I had taught some people via Skype in the past, but now since this madness started, which was just saying to my students, it didn't work out for every one of them, but, what can you do? My students are a little bit older, so I don't teach many children. I teach more adults. So to some of them, I became the therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we I have a couple questions I want to share. But Felipe, so with mostly adult students, you found that in your area, they've and your teaching practice, some of them didn't want to do the online thing. Have you like checked back in with those guys?
Yes, I have checked with them, and the thing is, there's a lot of people in London that, because London is so expensive, that they share accommodation. They live with other people. So I think there was a little bit of an embarrassment of having a drum lesson in front, not in front, but within the hearing distance from their housemates. So it didn't work well for them. But for teenagers and children, it works perfectly. I teach a 6-year-old boy that for him every Saturday morning. For him is great because he's playing with his brother. He comes for the lesson, he does the lesson, and then he starts playing with his brother again immediately, right? Usually it's me and the father talking a longer than the lesson. But the main thing with also in London is because most people live in apartments, they have electric drum kits, and they don't really want drum kit. They don't want drum lessons. They want to play on a real drum kit. That's what they really want, and that's what they're missing the most now. Yep. Because here in my studio, obviously, I have an acoustic set for them to play. So when they're having their lessons at home only on the pad and with their electric kit, they're not as happy.
Yeah. Well, I have at least 2, maybe 3 of my students that moved their drum sets to like the living room to get a better Wi-Fi signal. Yeah. 2 of them are kids. One of them is a woman. She's a school teacher, and she just does the lesson. She does pad in the kitchen. She puts the pad on the counter, and then she switches to the interface, and it's right there, and the family's there, and they're great. They know she loves her lessons, so they just stay out of her way, and they let her do her thing. And so that's a wonderful thing that they do. This is a great question from John Gill. I think I'd like all of us to take this if you want. It's addressed to Dom at first. Dom, what's the best way to share charts and notation with your students? John emails the lesson materials prior to lessons, but some students have them where they don't have them printed out. So what's your...
And don't forget improvisation. Listen, like great jazz players, we are improvising right now. We say something, we react to it. It's that comment that, someone says something that takes me to a different thought process. I interject that takes somebody else. And that's really what synergy is. Synergy is when 1 + 1 = 3. It takes you to a whole nother area where neither of you would have thought of before, but because of the combined brain power, we have now arrived at some place. And that's with every student. We try to create that synergy to let them, draw from my mind. I'm traveling down to where they're at, and this is what the magic really is. It's great.
I want to add to that in the course of doing these live events with everybody that's been involved, we're live. I mean, we're just talking, and I've just been so impressed, and I'm so proud of every drum teacher that I've met through this. There's no 7-second delay. Everything that's been said has been respectful. You can tell everybody that's involved with SEN is a professional that loves what they do, and they're thinking about what they're saying. They put a lot of care into it. So there's no place here for nobody's ever taking down another person. We're all on the same team, and I'm just so proud of that. I just think it's wonderful.
And we've been doing this for a long time, so we know all the pitfalls, and we're only humans. If you make a mistake, that's bound to be human. Make a mistake, and no big deal.
With family.
Absolutely.
A part of that improvisational skill, Joe, what you're talking about, is that we now, in our course of our life, we have to learn how to be many different things. Yeah. We have to not only be educators and teachers and learn the files that we need, but we have to be video editors now. We have to be lighting people. We have to be sound people. We have to be producers so we can sit and have the right look in this framing that you want to have. So talk about that. I know with Felipe and Bobby and what they're doing, Felipe, with yourself too, some of the editing stuff that you're doing. I had Greg Potter, the wonderful drummer with Buddy Rich Big Band, put together a video that we're going to be featuring on Modern Drummer, and he didn't really have all the accessibility to video, so I connected him with Felipe, and literally the video was sent to Felipe with a direction of what we wanted to have done. It was maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Felipe, you sent back the complete edited version. I mean, Greg was blown away. And I just said, well, that's Felipe. He learned that skill and he knows how to make it happen. So to edit, to push, to punch, to put the inlay and the picture of the magazine, the notation, to get this happening here, it was happening. So we have to learn this, because just talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I've been doing that for my own YouTube channel for quite some time now. I used to play in a band called Cherry White, and I used to film all the rehearsals and all the gigs, and then put the videos together and send back to the other members. And I migrated to many different softwares to edit the video. I've never took a course. I made tons of mistakes, things that used to take me like half an hour to do like 3 years ago. Now I can do in like 2 minutes. But that's, as you said, this is how we are now. And now I just added to that recording audio. I bought a basic equipment, but my room has a nice sound. I also have nice equipment. The cymbals help. So now I'm doing video and audio, and people are happy. There's a friend of mine who comes here sometimes, who's a drummer from Brazil, also called Felipe, and we are doing like 4 or 5 sessions a week of audio and video.
Wow, that's great. And Felipe, you mentioned earlier that you didn't spend a ton of money on cameras, aren't you? You're using some older phones and stuff.
Yeah, there's an amazing software called Filmic Pro that it's I think it's around $12-15 that you can download, and you can adjust lighting, focus, zoom, and you can, for example, if you want to have an older tint, like a vintage tint in the image, you can do that on the software. If you want to have it very bright, if you want to have black and white, you can do everything on the software. And so I have 3 older cell phones that I downloaded the app. So I have 3 different cameras, and I also have my GoPro. So there's no need to buy like expensive equipment.
Right. That's great to know. That's great. I don't want the session to go by without acknowledging and having Felipe talk a little bit about this wonderful book that we published through Wisdom called Play the Drums. And this book is for beginners. So, look at that. Dom, you got one? Bobby, you got one? Everybody hold up. Right. So just in 5 minutes or less.
Okay, so the good thing about my students is they don't need to worry about me sending files, because they have no choice. They have to buy my book. So they have my book.
It's also available digitally on HudsonMusic.com.
Exactly. Yeah. But I also have books available here because I've learned from them. Let's see if I can show that. So I have books for sale there, as you can see. So, and I try to, so if they need a book, I have it here, and they can, and they can have the book going home. Well, talking about my book, I put together this book for beginners because when I went back from the US to Brazil in the 90s, I got in touch with something called accelerated learning that is used for languages. It teaches a person who never spoke a language in 48 hours of lessons to learn how to communicate and to understand what's being said to them, because sometimes understand what's being said is the most difficult thing. And as I was going through that training, immediately in my mind, I was seeing how that could be applied to drumming, because a simple drum beat can be like a word. And then if you put a coordination exercise, it can be like a phrase. And then if you put the beat with the coordination exercise to create a drum beat and a drum fill, that can be like a conversation. And then the first unit being quarter notes, it builds up for the second unit, that's eighth notes. So you build up a vocabulary, and it gets to a point where the students, they're able to play, even they don't quite understand what they're playing, because they got all that vocabulary that added up. And the other thing is different from many beginners books, because most of the beginners books start with sit down, this is how you sit, this is how you hold the sticks, this is how you breathe, I don't do any of that, because people want to play drums. So they arrive in my studio, I open the book, I don't open the book, I have a flat screen TV attached to my computer, so the Hudson app goes straight there. And so I opened I put the first page, and I said, sit down, play the hi-hat. I don't tell them how to hold the stick. 90% of the time they hold well enough to play. So they play the hi-hat. I said, now let's add the snare. Now let's add the bass drum. And in 10 minutes, they're playing a drum beat. They don't know, it's not exactly the drum beat they think it is, but it doesn't matter. In their ear, it's a drum beat. And then they're hooked. So that's it. Basically, that's it.
And the book takes you step by step through that process, simple beats and reading, coordination, and
there's reading, coordination. The first is play the grooves, then coordination, then reading, and then theory. Just like if we, for example, when we learn to speak our own language, you guys will have children, know that when your child says "dada," you don't sit them down. Okay, let's understand grammar now. That's
Right.
So you're going to start reading and understanding the theory of language when you're around 6 or 7 years old. So you spend like 6 years just speaking the language.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. So theory is the fourth thing in the book. So they can understand what they're doing. And then the last thing, which is what I call fun, because it's drum fills. And let's face it, that's why we play drums, to play drum fills. Nobody cares about the groove.
Dom, you had a comment first?
I did. What Felipe was saying about his book, which is important, that I'd like a lot of teachers to understand, is that the student wants to get on and play the drum set. And that's where their excitement is. That's what they envision in their mind as a young child. And when we force them to play practice pad or a snare drum, we pull them away from that dream. And so we have to find that balance. When a child wants to play soccer, they go and they purchase a soccer ball, they go out to their yard, and they're immediately kicking the ball, and they're actively playing soccer. They might not be playing well. They might kick it and miss it. They might kick it and it goes to a different direction than where they wanted it. The skills will come later, but they're playing. That's why sports has such an advantage to the music industry. You can get immediate gratification. So if we can blend that ability to be able to get them on a drum set and get them to play, and then inflict these movements that they can improve themselves with, I think we're onto something really well that I think will be where 21st century teaching has to go, to involve more people to play the drums.
I would like both of our panelists to kind of show us what you have. I'd like to see your Sabian cymbals, and I want to know what's on your practice, on your music stand. What are you practicing? What are you teaching? So, okay, you're back. Okay. So there you are. So same thing, Philippe.
Okay. I'm sitting right in front of it. So I have two AX Explosion Fast Crash, a 16 and an 18 over there. 22-inch Paragon ride. Here on this side, I have an HHX Chinese. One of my favorite ride cymbals, an 18-inch garage ride. And I have a 14 on this side, a HH 14-inch hi-hat. On the other side is a 13-inch AAX hi-hat. And for my students, let me turn the camera. So for my students, I have an old pair of Sabian hats that I don't even know what they are. AAX, V-Ride, a Vault V-Ride. And this is an early 80s AA crash. I sent a picture to Mark Love, actually, and he told me that it was an early 80s AA crash. And I have an XS20 Thin Crash, 18-inch in the student's drum kit. And that's it.
And what's on your? I saw that flat screen TV. That was on the student kit where you put the book up when they play.
Yeah, let me just put a page here on the book, so I can, for example, unit coordination, unit 1. So I have the Hudson app with many books. So I have it here on the computer, and then they have on the, yeah. So let me get a stick. So here you have the book on the screen, and they don't need to bring any books or anything for their lessons. So there's never the excuse of, oh, I lost my book, I don't know what it is.
So you use the Hudson app or some digital version of the book for every
I
lesson?
use the Hudson app.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah, because now they also have accents and rebounds and syncopation and stick control and advanced techniques for modern drummer. Future Sounds, which is a book I love. Nina knows about it.
Yeah, of course.
Hudson now has everyone. They've got all the Hal Leonard books. They've got all the Alfred books. Of course, their own books, Wisdom Media books. So I think Rob Wallace deserves tremendous credit on the vision that he had to secure the digital market in the future, but he's always been this way. If you ever get a chance to go to the Sessions panel and watch the interview on Rob Wallace, it'll give you the background of a brilliant mind in our industry that has helped thousands upon thousands of drummers to obtain a higher level of education. And Rob does that so well, and HudsonMusic.com allows this digital world now to come alive, that now you have it in a screen in front of you. We can have it on our tablet, on our computer, on our phone. This is huge.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, Don. That was perfect. So guys, this is the rapid fire part. I don't know if you watched last week, but here it comes. Okay. Teaching tip of the week. What's your teaching tip of the week? Felipe.
I have no idea what to say now. Well, to paraphrase Paul McCartney, the love you take is equal to the love you make. So the effort you put into drumming is what you're going to get from it. We need to learn everything, but my tip is don't try to learn everything at once. You know, we have to learn from many books, but don't try to practice all the books at once. Choose one and do that book properly.
Yeah.
For example, Stick Control, the oldest commercial book that we have. There's so much in those pages. Not only what's written. Every page you can apply the exercises in many different ways, millions of different. If nothing else, Stick Control would be a drum fill book. Every single exercise could be a drum fill for all the styles of music in the world, if nothing else. But there's so much in each page. So learn everything you have to learn, but not at once. Take your time.
Great advice.
Fantastic.
So Dom, any closing thoughts for this week?
Well, simply, I mean, we all have to be thankful to Sabian Symbols. Andy, at the CEO of the helm of this ship, is steering us in such a great direction that we have this accessibility, and we have the ability to be able to inspire each other. I always say, we use steel to sharpen steel, and it's man that sharpens man. And these conversations allow us to just kind of share this information, pull the feedback from those people that are commenting, and just communicate this so it lifts us all. And for that, I thank Sabian so much. And Joe, yourself, for making this happen and organizing this and putting this all together. Thank you so much. You do a great job with it, and it's great, great fun. And let's keep on doing it as long as we can breathe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the playing drums for a living and doing what we do, sometimes I still do, go to bed at night and I go, I got paid for that. That was great. We're so lucky to do what we do. And I think sharing our passion.
Imagine for me, I'm from the rear end of Brazil, growing up in the 80s where there was nothing there. I still cannot believe I'm really actually at a Sabian webinar. You have no idea.
Billy Common was one of your idols, and here it is. Next thing we know, you're at a camp with Billy, and then you're meeting Billy at Ronnie Scott's, and here it is.
I'm his friend on Facebook, and we exchange messages. How crazy is that?
Well, growing up, I know that I was told that the dough is in the dough, but you know what? I prefer to get my kicks with sticks.
Nice. Well, seeing Bobby, you came from a completely other business in your family, and you achieved your dream of being a drummer. And Felipe, like you said, coming from Brazil and now being in London and achieving what you've achieved. And I know both of you guys, your talent, perseverance, and hard work were the keys to that recipe. So that's the special sauce, and that's what you guys have. That's what all of our friends watching have, and nothing's going to take that away as we continue to learn from each other and keep this great Sabian Education Network thing going. So we'll be back next week.
And check out the podcast with Andy Zildjian about history of Sabian and what he's been through in his life. Fantastic stuff. Excellent. For those of you in the U.S., have a nice Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see all you guys for our great events next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.